There's a lot going on in our country regarding finance, a lot of things going on with our money. It's time to have that conversation about faith and finance. Good morning, Drew.
Good morning. How's it going?
Doing great. How about you?
You know, I played at a father-son basketball game last night for the 8th graders.
Yeah.
They never beat us, never beat the parents, ever. And they did beat us the last game, but I just got to say I did roll my ankle pretty bad.
Did you really?
Oh, man, when you're getting older, I tried to do a move on a kid, and he kind of cut me off really quick.
Yeah.
And I can't stop as much, and yeah, it rolled.
Did the parents win again last night, or they beat
No,
you
we
last
won the
night?
first game. They won the second game.
Well, yeah. If you play 2 games against 8th graders, for goodness sake, all the
They
parents
got kind
are
of
gonna-
tall. They were pretty tall.
and you're going to be worn out.
Tired
Like,
by the second game.
Yeah.
I know the way we used to play it was parents versus children, first to 2 wins, and we get the ball. And then that's it.
They may have won the last second or third. The more I think about it.
Well, sorry that you're hurting a bit. You know
Hey.
what else is hurting a bit is our country regarding in the area. They keep talking about all the strengths of our economy, and I get it, and you can definitely see some strong points. But our debt, Drew, just seems to be ignored. We know that it's out of control, but it seems to be something that isn't talked about nearly as much as it should be when it appears to be in crises.
Yeah, so I was on the Wall Street Journal. There's a bunch of articles on the Wall Street Journal last night about the debt. And one article talked about the U.S. national debt and the deficit, especially the deficit. So what it was debt and deficit. Deficit is what you do each year, and then debt is the total debt of all years combined. Are on a dangerous long-term path. But the issue is receiving little political attention at all. Like no one's really talking about the debt. According to the Congressional Budget Office, the federal interest payments alone. If you guys had to guess, how large do you think the interest payments are expected to be in 2026?
It'd have to be at this point. It would have to be nearly $2 trillion.
Well, the
Or
interest.
1.8 trillion.
We're talking about just not the deficit, but just interest on the debt.
Well, we're at 40 trillion if you're going to pay interest.
So-
So you're at 5% interest.
You're smart, man.
So you're talking about, my goodness, yeah.
So it's not that high, 2 trillion, but it's about 1 trillion.
Well, it is
Wow.
one.
One
Well, then
trillion.
you're paying 2.5. So you're only paying 2.5 interest. But the interest is going up. So as the interest
It's going
goes
up. That's good. They talked about the next 5 years that 1 trillion is going to go much higher
Right.
because they have to roll over that debt. The interest rates are high. That's part of the argument. Should they lower interest rates?
Right.
But inflation's out of control.
Right.
And it's a mess. The Federal Reserve doesn't have a necessary solution to it. But so we're talking about 1 trillion of our deficit is just to pass debt. So every time the U.S. government tries to issue money to a foreign country, money for this, more money for that, we have to pay this debt. But we're paying all this interest. The annual budget deficit is projected around 1.85 trillion in 26.
Yeah.
So I thought, have you guys heard any congressmen or women talking
No.
about we need to lower this?
No.
I mean, I remember during the Great Recession, I think we hit 500 billion, close to 800 billion. We might have hit close to 1 trillion, and that was a big deal back then.
yeah.
I don't know. I got to look at the numbers. I think it was 500 billion.
Right.
And that was a big deal. So this isn't a cyclical problem. This isn't like we're in a great recession and we have to spend our way through it. This is our normal. This is not cyclical. The Wall Street Journal talks about.
That's what's scary.
That's what's scary, and we have no correction. We're looking at, they project it's going to hit 2. Interest costs are becoming one of the fastest growing parts of the federal budget, meaning more tax revenue will go towards servicing what we've done in the past. I mean, and we tell households all the time not to do that. So
Yeah.
if you're going to be running massive debt for your gambling addiction, we'll say, it's punishing your kids. And here's another thing that people always talk about. Like, what if that money was going to good things? Like, that's one thing. What if it's going to productive aspects? But this money, government does not spend the money on productive aspect, and it doesn't produce it on productive assets at all. So it needs to definitely let the private sector spend rather than the federal government on that.
Yeah. Amen.
And this is, we lose track of this. We hit $1 trillion in debt in 2009. 2009. That's when we hit $1 trillion in debt for the United States. We are in 2026 and we're 40.
Well, I think is that deficit?
Yeah.
I think the national debt in 9 would have been about 9 to 10 trillion.
Oh, okay. No, my bad. Yeah, right.
But we're at 40.
But now we're 40.
But,
yeah.
Yeah,
so
what's
the
9
article,
trillion among friends?
Yeah, right.
And the reason why
that was our debt for that.
that
yeah.
was the deficit, and
For
that was
year.
because of the Great
Because
Recession.
of the Great Recession, yeah.
And that was a huge
You're right,
deal.
yeah.
And I think that we have to understand that we're not in a Great Recession, and we're still spending that kind of money. But what we have, the article talks about in 2010, it's been exploding ever since.
Yeah.
And I remember in 2010, and you remember how the Tea Party came about, if you guys remember back then, that we were all criticizing Barack Obama and how it was exploding the national debt. Well, from his point to this point, it has exploded even more. And then could you imagine another 10 years, what it's going to be?
Yeah.
Like we're talking about, it's out of control debt, which is very unfortunate because it just, what it does, debt will increase prices. So when you guys
Right.
see those price increases, inflation, we have 7 kids, it's so difficult for
Right.
food prices. I mean, that's where all our money goes to. And you could think, it's not a normal natural thing. It's not like a disaster happened and the price of oranges went up. It's because of the politicians.
Yeah.
It's 100% because of our monetary system.
Yeah.
And I always said this from the beginning. I used to go to a lot of fundraisers and listen to Senate candidates running for Senate. They all talk about we need a balanced budget. But it always goes back to, unless you talk about our monetary system, it needs that debt in order for the money supply to grow.
Right.
So it's against that aspect of it's like I always say is that the Federal Reserve is the drug dealer and the politicians are addicted to the drugs.
right.
Until you take care of the drug dealer, there's going to be no change.
Right.
And that always drove me crazy. There's once I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, what about the Federal Reserve? We need to correct our monetary system."
Right.
And he kind of laughed it off and he said, I'm a trained monetarist.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think we need, I forgot what he said. And I was like, okay, whatever. Politicians don't think about that because,
No.
and the article talks about it, they're kicking the can down the road. They don't want to be the one to make that tough decision.
Yeah, right.
We're going to hit economic crisis, and then you're going to hear politicians, oh, look what we did in the past. And they don't mean it. So it doesn't mean anything. And I think we need a structural change of the monetary system. Politicians can't do this.
Yeah, and just to correct myself, for the first time we hit $1 trillion in national debt in 1981. But to your point, all this conversation about the chairman of the Federal Reserve, of course, the current person in the presidency and the one after them and the one after him and is always going to want someone in there that keeps the interest rate down because it affects the payment on that national debt. If that interest rate ever goes up, every time it goes up even by a little bit, that payment it just accelerates by a gigantic amount.
And that could lead to, and we talk about this on our finance courses, that you ever heard of the crowding out effect?
Yeah.
It's when governments run massive deficits. It increases
I said
interest
yes,
rates.
but the answer is actually no. I don't know why I said yes.
You look so confident. I was
idea.
like, man, this guy.
No, I have no
he
idea
knows.
what that means.
So the crowding out effect is where the deficits are so large, it increases the interest rates. It increases the demand for loans. And what it does, it crowds out private investment because higher interest rates, our businesses don't borrow, which is productive assets. And then also, that's what's exploding our national debt is higher interest rates.
We've got to look at the end of the day when we talk about faith and finance. What we and all of our listeners need to be praying for is just wisdom in our leadership, right? And a return to an orderly sense of economy, and that is based on a good, sound Catholic teaching. Will definitely get you there.
Yeah, we need some fundamentals, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, the solution to me is pretty obvious. I mean, you take the Federal Reserve and you put it in the hands of one of these debt restructuring groups, and they can negotiate, a lower payment and get us out of debt.
Yeah, I see those commercials all the time.
Yeah.
No, we can talk
just
about those next week because those can be very dangerous.
Oh yeah. I bet.
Very dangerous, and there's a dark side to them. I was listening to a podcast about it. Maybe we could talk about that.
Oh, a little
I bought
teaser
it.
for next Friday.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
I bought a sheep in a blacksmith shop. I don't know what that means, but in any case, you're a smart guy. Thank you very much, Drew. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Faith in finance from the expert, Drew Blazsik, Professor Drew. Thank you so much.